Hello and welcome back to the Complete Web Dev series. In this chapter, we are going to talk about React.js, and we're going to be building just an example application using React. And so if you are here for the first time just because you want to learn React and you didn't take any of the previous chapters in this course, you're going to need to go and get a little bit of software that we built in the last chapter. We built an API using Node. So I would encourage you to either go back and watch that chapter and build out the API with us, or at the very minimum, go ahead and get that code base from GitHub, which I'll show you, and then we'll install that. First of all, I want to apologize that it has been so long since I released a video, but frankly, this series hasn't really been as popular or as needed as I thought it was, and so I just was waiting until someone asked for this chapter because I felt like I was wasting my time recording videos that no one needed, and that's fine. I've learned a lot and I've had great time in this, and I do know that it has helped some people. So I hope that it has been a blessing to you and that it continues to be a blessing. Also, I've been preparing to do an in-person live course where I will be teaching live a couple nights a week, about 12 students or so, how to become web developers. And we're going to be doing that in a live classroom type setting. And so I'm going to be recording those and posting those here. And maybe that'll be a more streamlined way than we just did with this. So if you stuck with me all the way through, thank you. I hope this has been awesome. If you're here just because you want to learn React, welcome. So what I'm going to do is switch over to my screen here. We're just going to get some... we're going to get some things. We're just going to make sure that we have some things done. First and foremost, if you've been following along, you'll have XAMPP installed, and that's what I'm going to be using to run MySql. So you will need that up and running. So go ahead and get XAMPP. You can go to apachefriends.org if you don't have that. If you haven't been following along, you will already have that. So let's just go ahead and make sure that's running by doing sudo opt lamp XAMPP start, and mine of course will be up and running already. The next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have Node installed. So just type node-v, node-version, and you will see if you have it installed. I'm running on version 14.19.0. There is a newer version available, so you can feel free to get that. If you don't have Node yet, just go to Nodejs.org and download. I would suggest the long-term stable release here. And once you've installed that for your system, you will be able to type node-version and see that you have Node. So that is the prerequisite. You need that. I can't say that word. But anyways, the other thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to make sure that we have the API. If you've been here last chapter, you will already have this, and hopefully it's up and running. Otherwise, you can go to github.com, go to Parham Curtis, and look for Node.js API, and go ahead and clone that to your local machine. And once you've done that, you will just navigate, and I'll show you that now. You will navigate to the directory that it's in. So right here, let me see, right here, I've cloned it into this API ref directory here inside my htdocs folder, so I can do print working directory, and you can see where I'm at here. And all you'll do here is you'll type npm install, and that will install everything here. And then what you're going to do is type npm start. And what that will do is it will start the running as long as everything, if yours looks like this, it's good. This actually creates a table in the database and make sure that it is migrated, and you'll be up and running with this API. All right, the next thing that we're going to do just to get started here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to boot up my app that I built just to show you that I built in preparation for the course. Let me just close this down, I don't need that. And I'm going to just show you what the app does. So if we go to localhost 3000, which is what React is running on, now the API is running on localhost port 5000. Since I don't have a user yet on my database, I'm going to go ahead and click register. And let's just add myself a user here. So we'll do Parham Curtis, maybe we'll do at freeskills.com. And then I'm going to put in a password here. I'll confirm that and hit register. And now you can see user registered. You may need to log in, so this is a little pop-up that happens. So I'll do Parham Curtis at freeskills.com. Once you log in, you're going to see a couple things here. It will take you to a to-dos here. So let's go ahead and add a new to-do. Learn Node.js. Hit create, and now it will create me a new to-do item here. And then we'll do learn ReactJS. And now we have learn Node and learn React. In the last chapter, we did learn Node already, so we can complete that. And then we could do something like subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and subscribe. If you have subscribed, thank you. And then we can also go and delete this, and it'll give us a little warning here. We'll click OK. Now, if you've noticed, this whole application so far has not, typically when you have a form that you post to, it's going to have to load a page. It'll navigate to a page and load the whole thing over again. If you've noticed so far, everything that I do never reloads this page. And this is running in what's called a single page application. And that's what we're going to be building with React. And it's one of the coolest things, that you can do with frameworks like React and Angular and stuff like that, is they feel really snappy. Now they interact with the API or the backend through AJAX calls. So if we were to open up the inspector here and look at the network, and I'm just going to select fetch XHR. So these are our AJAX requests. And I'm just going to do, we'll make an AJAX request here as the to-do and hit create. And you can see that it makes an API call to localhost 5000 to-dos. Now this localhost 5000 is our Node.js server that is up and running. So you can see that it makes an API request on the back end, but the front end will react to, and hence the name React, it will react to the data that comes back. In this case, here's the to-do that was created, and it will add that to-do to our list on its own. And so we don't have to do any functions or anything like that to add another row here. We don't have to refresh the page. Everything just happens because the data changes, and the things that are observing that data automatically update and add rows based upon each data. The other thing that this application has is, just for example, it has my contacts. So I don't have any right now. We can create one, and I'm just going to create a contact, and we'll call this contact, I don't know, we'll pick some old NFL players here. So let's say Bo, last name we'll do Jackson here, and for email we're going to do Bo knows at email.com. And then his phone number is 555-333-1234. And we'll hit save. And now you can see we have a contact, and I can add as many contacts as I want. And we can edit those contacts. So we can go and change that. Say I got the wrong phone number here, so it's 1233. We'll hit save, and now you can see that it is updated. All the while we have alerts going on to show us what's happening, and it never refreshes the page. Even when I navigate to other pages, it is not refreshing or doing anything. And then of course we can log out, and then we can log back in, and again it never refreshes the page. So this is what we're going to be building. It's ugly. I didn't pick a very good color scheme or anything like that. That's not the focus of it. Hopefully you can see the value in learning to build something like this. And so this is what we're going to be building. So let's go ahead and talk about just a couple things. One, let's do a little bit of setup here. And I think all we're going to do for setup is create our GitHub repository. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to just pull up my reference here, and I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting something in this first video. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create our application. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and go to GitHub, and I'm just going to drag my GitHub account in here. And I'm going to go to here and click on my repositories. And let's go ahead and add a new repository here. And let's just call this, I'm going to give this repository a name of, let's see, React to do tutorial. And we'll say complete web dev React course. All right, I'll make this public so you guys can get it, but I'd recommend you make yours private. I guess we'll add a get ignore here, and for the get ignore, let's go ahead. Well, you know what? Let's not add a get ignore. Let's not add any of this stuff. Let's create the repository. Once we're here, it's going to tell us how we can push existing code, which is what we're going to be doing. So don't mess with any of this. Let's go ahead now and create our project, and we're going to do that by going to a terminal. And let me just go ahead and Control C out of all of this. I don't need this running anymore. And let's clear. And I'm going to cd into opt lamp htdocs. So if I look here, these are all the projects that I have currently on my machine. And I'm going to create a new one. But we're going to do something a little special here. What we're going to do is, instead of just creating a directory and some files, we're going to use a script that comes with Node. And so we're going to use, it's going to be called npx, which is Node package script. Okay, so npx, we're going to run that. And we're going to type create React app. Let me just double check my term. Yeah. We're going to use create React apps. That's the name of the script that we're running. And then we're going to give this a name. And I'm just going to call this to do from on my machine. You can call it whatever you'd like, but I'm going to call mine to do. And then I'm going to hit enter. And what's going to happen is you can see that it's going to be doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And now it says that it has created a new React app in this folder called to do. So we're going to go ahead, and then what's going to happen is it's going to go ahead and install. So it runs the npm install automatically. So right now it's installing all the dependencies that this React application needs. This may take a little bit of time here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, I think, while this finishes. It seems to be moving a little slow for me. And depending on your internet speed and things like that, this may take a little while for you. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I will be right back. Maybe. It's been so long since I've recorded a video, I can't remember how to pause my video. Oh, I see. I'll see you guys in a moment. All right, I am back. And what you can see now is this script has finished running. It says that it has, and if we look up here, it added 1,378 packages from 613 contributors. And if you look down here, it added another 169 packages. Or these are just looking. So it added 38 packages. And in total, we have 169 packages that are looking for funding. So you can, if you want, you can run npm fund. That's a way for you to donate to the people who have so graciously done all this open source software and given us the ability to run it. So then what I can do here is I can actually run one of these commands. If you look down here, it tells us we can run npm start. We can run npm run build, which creates a like a production build of our thing. But then it says they suggest we go ahead and cd into our folder that it created, which was called to do, and run npm start. So let's do that. Let's do cd to do, and now you can see I'm in this to do thing, and I'm going to run npm start. If everything goes well, it says it's starting the development server, and it opens your default browser on the port already. but I don't want to do that right now. What I'm going to do is go back to the browser that I already have open, and I'm going to type in localhost port 3000 here. And once you've done that, you'll see if everything's working right, you will have this React logo spinning here, and it says to go ahead and edit the src app.js and save to reload. And then they got a link here to go to the documentation to learn React. So let's go ahead now, and while I'm going to open another terminal, I'm going to leave this running right here so that I can see any sort of errors or anything like that. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to, on a different tab, I'm going to go ahead and go into our new directory here, and I'm going to open up VS Code with that code base. I missed it, so let me move that to another tab here. All right, so now we can see a brief summary, or this is our summary of the packages. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few things here to understand what has happened through npx. Create React app. One thing that it did is it created this package.json, and this package.json is just a JSON file, and it includes a lot of information in here. First of all, the name of our application. It starts us off with a minor version of 0.1.0. It lets us know that it is a private application, and then these dependencies are libraries that were installed for us, and it tells us the version numbers of those that were installed. So for example, it installed React version 17.0.2, it installed React DOM, React scripts, and Web Vitals. It created a few scripts for us to run. We can run start, build, test, and eject. Do not run eject right now. Just don't even try messing with that. Test is if you can set up tests, which we're not going to be covered in this course right now, but you can test your front end, write unit tests and things like that for your components, and that will run those. And then to build a production build, so you wouldn't be running the development version on a live server, you would run this build, which would create static JS files that you could then use in your application. All right. It also has some ESLint configuration stuff, and also some browser list stuff. And then this development stuff is basically like, hey, this is our targets of what Chrome, Firefox, and Safari browsers we are targeting for this. So the other file that you'll see here is this package lock.json. Now this is a lock file that gets created, and this lock file, basically what happens is when you run npm install, it's going to create a list of everything. Now these are all the packages and everything that you have installed already, and I'll show you where those are. So do not change this package lock.json. Is actually this whole file is created when you run npm install. So you need that. In this package.json here, you can add dependencies, like when you want to add a library here, but there's a much easier way to do that, and I'll show you that in the future. All right, the next thing you notice is this node modules, and it's kind of grayed out, and it's grayed out because by default they did give us a get ignore file. This get ignore file, it tells it not to include any node modules. That's why this is kind of grayed out here. It also has a few other things like environment files, and if you're on Mac, this DS store super annoying file that ends up in projects everywhere. And then it doesn't upload any of your testing or production directories into. You don't want to do that. Okay, so then what you can do, let's go ahead and take a look at our public here. And public is going to be where we house a lot of things that we use in our application, like our CSS and things like that, where you would normally build your HTML files. And we do have an index.html. So let's go ahead and look at that. So you'll see there's not much in here. There's a lot of comments in here, but typically it loads in an icon. It also goes ahead and sets up some links and stuff like that for Apple Touch icons. It gets your manifest.json file, which is right here, which will define a lot of things like your short name, your name. Here are the icons and where they're at, things like that. So what it does basically is it takes information from your manifest.json, and using this syntax like here with this percent public URL, it will replace that with the values that you have. But what's important here is this div right here, this div with an ID of root. So what happens, this is actually the entry point for our React application. We're not going to be adding any HTML, or we're not actually going to touch this at all in this course. But this right here is where the React app is going to get loaded, and it uses JavaScript to do that. So if we close that down, let's go ahead and close public down, and let's look in source, and I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So if you go ahead and click on app.js here, here is our app function, and this will create our application. Now, this right here has, this basically is that home page that we saw, but let's figure out how this works. So if you go to index.js, you can see that there's this React DOM render method here. So React DOM is a library that was installed, so that's a class, and render is a method, and it's rendering our application right here. Well, the second parameter in this runs a JavaScript here, and it's basically telling it where to insert the React application. So if you look at document.getElementById root, this right here, this method takes our React application and stuffs it into this div. So here's the ID root. If you look here, document.getElementById root, and it will run our application here. And where does it get this application from? Well, this application comes from our app.js file, and it runs right here. So whatever's returned from this function it gets placed into that index.html file into this root div. So that's enough kind of overview on how this file structure is set up. We're going to be changing a lot of this and adding to it as we go. So we're not going to do any of that in this video. But the other thing that I wanted to do is let's just talk about a little bit of expectations. So let me switch back over to my screen here. Oh yeah, I forgot. We didn't finish the GitHub Hub Repo, so I wanted to go ahead and do that just in case we had any issues there. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to my screen, and what I'm gonna do here, let's go ahead and navigate. We are here. Here's our to-do application, and what we're gonna do is go to the GitHub. So here's my GitHub here, and you can see when we created our thing, it gave us the what we needed to copy and paste here. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. We'll go to here, and we'll do our git remote add, and then what we're gonna do next is we need to push what we have. So we're going to do git push origin master. So let's go down and just check GitHub and make sure that's here now. Refresh. And now you can see that we have our application on GitHub. I'm going to also create a new branch for you guys so that you can easily get this per video. This first one is kind of pointless because it's just the install, but I want you to be able to see where we left off at the end of the video. So I'm going to do a git checkout -b v1, and I'm going to do a git push -- set upstream, and we'll do origin v1. All right, and so now we should be able to see that if I refresh here on GitHub, there are 2 branches now and V1. So V1's where we're leaving off on the end of this video. All right, sorry I forgot to do that, but now your stuff's on GitHub and we'll be able to follow along for the rest of the video. All right, talk to you soon. Or my camera, rather. And let's just start off with a few things. First and foremost, understand that there are many different ways that we could have gone about building this application. And the way that in general that we build React components, so the thing is with React, you build components that are reusable and you can use them in many places. So like, for example, I might build a button component and I'm going to use that button component in various different places in the application. Well, there are two ways that I can build that button component, and when React first came out, it was all built with object-oriented programming. So it'd be, you would create a class, and those are known as class components. Now, I started building React applications back in 2015, and back then everything was a class, and where I work, everything, we have ever since 2015, so we have like 7 years of code written with class-based components. That's the way I prefer to work. The other way that you can build components is through functions. It's functional programming. So there's a big debate right now between, object-oriented programming versus functional programming, and it's a different paradigm. But the whole argument, in my opinion, is stupid. It's basically, hey, the way that I like to program is better than the way that you like to program, and so the cool kids nowadays say that you should use functional. I think it's just as messy as classes, but there are cases in which even those applications will need a class-based component. So class-based components, I feel, are more powerful, and they also have some really helpful entry points or hooks, not even hooks, but life cycle type methods that run when those components are constructed and when they're rendered and when they're updated. They have all these hooks that you can tie into that are very, very powerful. Now, they wanted to make components a lot easier, so React has shifted and they've started building components out of functions. Instead of instantiating a new class for each component, it is just a function that is called, and there is a return from that function that will be the component. They didn't initially have all of the cool lifecycle type methods in there, but they've since React 16, I believe, they've added lifecycle hooks. So there's a few things that you can do there. I've chosen in this video series to do this in the functional programming way. There's a couple reasons. One, even though I prefer building them with class-based components, the reason that I'm going to do functional is because most of the documentation that you're going to see in libraries and things like that with newer libraries are all going to show examples building these things functionally. Oddly enough, though, when you go to learn React, still at the time when I was recording this, they show you how to use React with class-based components while you're learning. So I've decided, one, I wanted to get more comfortable building it myself in a functional way, since we don't use that at work and I don't use it on a daily basis. So I was kind of new to this sort of style of building React components as well. So I'll fully admit that I may do some things in this that if you are really experienced in React functional programming, you may wonder why I did it that way. So it's just the way my brain thought when I was building the example application out. I'm sure there are better ways. The other thing is there are several ways to manage state. So what is state? State is basically the data of your application and how that data may update or change. Okay, so there are several libraries that help you deal with these state changes, and some of those popular ones you might have heard of Redux, that sort of mentality of Redux. I don't even like that much. I prefer using a library called MobX, and MobX is really, really cool. It's definitely more of an object-oriented way of doing things, but basically they give you methods and observables and things like that, where you can set up a data structure, make it observable, and then anywhere that looks at that will update automatically when that data changes. So you have like a computed functions that happen automatically and update things. For example, if I have a computed value that's printed to the screen that does some sort of math and prints out the return of a function, if anything in my data that updates that compute is looking at, it will automatically return a new value and print that to the screen. And so I love MobX. That's the way I prefer to work. But again, what I wanted to do is make this as vanilla as possible. So we're going to be using React's way of doing things. We're gonna be using their lifecycle hooks. We're going to be using reducers and things like that to manage the updating of our state. And so that is the direction that we're going. So if I make any mistakes or do things in a way that you're like, why would you do it that way? Well, it's because I'm new at this too, and I prefer to work in a totally different way with React. But I love React. I think that functional React is awesome. I have 7 years of experience doing it with class-based components and MobX to handle that, so it's a completely different paradigm for me. So with that said, with all of those caveats out, I hope you guys enjoy this series, and I hope you learned something, and we will see you in the next video, and we will go ahead and start building our application. So I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully this will probably be the last chapter in this complete web dev series. We'll wrap this up and we will move on with something new. Peace out.